Hey YouTube, 85cc Master here. Gonna be doing a video of all the dirt bikes I have personally owned that belong to me over the years. I've been riding dirt bikes since I was like 10 years old, so I've been in the dirt bike game for 14 years now. So I've personally owned 10 dirt bikes. I'll start with some of them, and then with the actually three best ones I've ever owned. So here's and I have videos of every one of these bikes on my channel. You just gotta search them. So here's my XR70 I purchased as a basket case, and I wound up putting a Life in 125 4-speed manual on it. Crazy torque because I had a custom 50-tooth Rebel Gears rear sprocket made for the bike, and it just had an insane amount of torque. Was not fast by any means, but it was fun to screw around on, and I wound up selling it for $400, and I wound up buying it for $25. Let's see here. RM125 2000 model. It was not a very powerful bike. It needed a new top end when I sold it for $800, and it just wasn't really that impressive. I rode it for a little bit and wound up selling it because I just wanted something with more power and that was newer. The seat on it was like sitting on a cloud. It was extremely soft, and just really wasn't that impressive. Maybe it's because I rode snot out of it. And I bought it for, I think, $1,100. One of the funnest bikes I've ever owned was this 2008 150R. I bought it for $1,800. I wound up selling it for, I think it was $1,400 or $1,500. Had quite a bit of mods on it, but it was very fun to ride. Had a crazy amount of power for a little thumper. But I sold it because at the time I had intentions on getting back into racing, and I wanted something that had more suspension because I was just pounding the suspension on this little bike. But it was very, very fun to ride. Great adult pit bike. This YZ80, and this is me riding it. I bought this bike, I think it was $600 I bought it for, and I think I sold it for $600. When I sold it, it needed new front fork seals. They were slap blown out. You can see the rear fender bent up in the air. Used it as a wheelie bar a couple of times. Didn't really have that much power. I wound up putting a really big front sprocket on the bike, and it had a crazy amount of top speed, but didn't hardly have any torque or anything whatsoever. First and second gear lasted forever on this little thing. But it was a little fun bike. Sold it just because I lost interest in the thing, and this when I was a teenager, so I was growing and I needed a bigger bike also. Let's see. Let me go down here. Here's a 1986 YZ125. This was the first big bike I ever owned, and that's me racing it at the Little Brown Jug Hare Scramble. Shoot, that was probably back in 2008 or 7, something like that. I bought this bike for, I think it was $700. I thought it was so cool because it had a front disc brake on it, and I was used to riding my XR100, which I'll be getting to, and I thought it was so cool. Bought this bike, raced it maybe 2 or 3 times, and wound up having to rebuild it because at that point in time I didn't know anything about dirt bike maintenance and never changed the air filter, and it wound up sucking dirt into the engine, and you can probably figure out the rest. Rings, piston, cylinder was toast. This was a very outdated bike, slow, loud, just wasn't impressive by any means, but at the point in time I thought it was, because it was my first big dirt bike, and I wound up selling it in a lot better shape than I bought it. I have a video of this bike, I believe, on my YouTube channel of what it looked like when I sold it. It looked fairly good. This KX125 I bought for $1,400 on the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. Bought it, no maintenance done to it when I bought it. The guy had no idea what he was talking about when I was asking him about maintenance stuff for this bike when I purchased it. So I got it home, changed the filter that was completely deteriorated, the air filter, did the maintenance to it. Hated riding it because it was jetted completely wrong, ran so rich, wound up changing the main jet. It ran a little bit better, and it just was not that impressive. Suspension was really soft, the seat was really soft, felt like I was sitting on a couch. And I sold it for, I think, $1,100. And that is, and I took a break from riding for a while, and then I went and purchased this, let me find it. This 03 YZ125 from a good friend of mine at work. This is the most recent dirt bike that I've owned. Jetted awesome, had some cool red hubs and black rims, big gas tank, awesome dirt bike, and I bought it for $13.50, and I sold it back to him, the guy I purchased it from, for $1,000. So it was a very nice dirt bike. That's the best running bike I've ever owned right here. And the guy I bought it from, his son races pro level enduro and hare scrambles, so he knew what he was doing when he rebuilt this dirt bike right here. The second best bike I've ever owned was this 05 KX250. I owned it for quite a while. Wound up rebuilding the engine on it, the top end 3 times, I believe. And when I sold it, it looked like this. Very clean. Had some parts that went with it. That's a gas tank right there. Big gas tank. But honestly, it was just too much bike for me. Power was crazy on it. Had a very strong mid-range. Honestly needed a flywheel weight for woods riding. But it would rip on the track. And I never rejetted the bike, but it ran fairly well. But this is the most powerful bike that I've ever owned. And I bought it for $2,500 near Statesboro, Georgia, and I sold it for $2,300. And that was after a couple years of owning it and putting lots of money into the bike. And now for the best and funnest bike that I've ever owned, and has been in my garage since I ever started riding dirt bikes. This is actually my brother on it. but my 2003 XR100. I have tons of videos of this bike and helmet cams, upgrades that I've done to it, and it's just been such a reliable dirt bike. The engine's never given me any problems. It's always started well, even after I haven't rode it for months. It's just been fun. It's a little bike. After I added my BBR 120 big bore kit to it, that made it even funner to ride. It's just been an excellent, perfect pit bike, a fun screw around on bike. I raced it like 2 or 3 times when I was a teenager, and it's just been the best bike that I've ever owned. Most reliable bike also. So that's a video on all the bikes that I've owned over the years. I might have missed 1 or 2 maybe, but that's all of them, I believe. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, rate, comment, subscribe. This is A5cc Master. Y'all have a great one.